Welcome to the video. Today we're talking about the 5 forces of competition for profit. Now this is a very important video because, look, when I first learned about this, I did not know what the 5 forces were. Now the first one we're going to talk about is rivals. That one's fairly obvious, right? We're fighting for profit with the other people that do the same thing we do, right? That's kind of obvious. I think most people get that one. But the other 4 are unknown to a lot of people. And so I'm actually going to challenge you right now. I want you to make your best guess on what you believe the 5 forces of competition are. I just gave you one of them, which you probably already knew about, but I want you to either write it down, grab a piece of paper, or make a mental note to yourself. What do you think are the 5 forces of competition for profit? Now, I'm not going to go to the next slide for about 30 seconds or so. I'm going to explain this a little bit more so you know the foundation of why this is important. So you've got a little time, and this isn't something you got to send in to me to be graded. I'm not going to publicly shame you if you don't know what they were. Look, I only know 2 of them when someone first asked me this. But I can tell you with certainty, as soon as you get clear on who you're competing against, it will help you grow your business because you will be able to develop a strategy against these 5 forces. And as soon as you know who you're fighting against, who you're competing against, if you understand the game at a deeper level, then you can create defense. You can create offense to compete against these forces and win. Because that's what a strategy is, right? It's how do you win? So if you want to win, this video will show you how. Because I'm going to go through all 5 of these forces of competition, and I'm going to show you how to beat every single one of them. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is rivals. You probably already knew that one. We're going to talk about threat of new entrants. We're going to talk about bargaining power of buyers. We're going to talk about threat of substitutes, and we're going to talk about the bargaining power of suppliers. First one, of course, is rivals. Now, I want you to keep this formula in mind as we go through this, because foundationally, this is one of, if not the most important formulas to determine whether you're going to be profitable or not. I love things that are simple. When I can simplify something down to its core elements, that helps me tremendously, because if something is overly complex, it makes it harder for me to justify doing it. And I think most people are the same way. So if you can boil something down to its most core elements, it can help you gain confidence that you can actually do it. It can help you gain confidence that you can actually win and develop a strategy to win. And so it doesn't matter if you're a big company doing billions of dollars like Facebook or Google or Walmart, or a small little company doing, Craigslist and eBay buy and sell arbitrage from home as a one-man army. Profit equals price minus cost, and that is the foundation of the 5 forces. Because when you have rivals, right, your competitors, the people that are competing against you for the same deals, right, because there's a finite amount of deals available in your territory. There's a finite amount of profit. It's not limitless, right? If you're in solar, let's say there's 100 deals that get done every month in your territory. Well, all the solar companies in your territory are fighting for those 100 deals. So the more rivals you have, the more competition there is for that finite amount of profit, right? And if you have an intense rivalry, you can compete away those profits by passing it on to buyers, by lowering your price or increasing the value of your offer, or increased fulfillment cost. Right? If you have a fierce competitor down the street from you that tends to keep showing up at the same houses that you're selling in, and you hear the name over and over again, oh, hey, so-and-so can do it for $500 less. What can you do for me? Right? Or, hey, they're throwing in a free battery. Or, hey, they're doing this or that. Like that can affect your profits, right? So how do you defeat your rivals? How do you gain a competitive advantage against your competitors. The first thing you're going to want to do is own and control. Now, what do I mean by that? Data. If you don't know by now, data is the new oil. This is an untapped resource that a lot of companies aren't paying attention to right now. So if you can start paying attention to it, that can give you an advantage over your competitors. See, we use in-market targeting, which means we're going to be able to determine, we're going to be able to look out into the marketplace and determine who is already exhibiting buying behavior. So it's called behavioral targeting. If you haven't watched my video on that, jump back and watch that. That's an important, some foundational knowledge that you need to have to understand how to beat the 5 forces. When you use in-market data, when you own and control that data, then you're going to know who your customers are, who your audience is ahead of time, by name, on any device, across any platform. So when you know that Bob is already exhibiting buying behavior, you're not doing demographic targeting, right? You're not just knocking on every door hoping to find Bob. You already know who Bob is, and you can have pinpoint accuracy on your efforts, on your labor, right? If it takes you knocking 100 doors to find Bob, well, guess how many knocks it takes to find Bob with this strategy? 1. Do you think that gives you a competitive advantage over your rivals? If you're able to reduce ad spend or reduce acquisition cost because you can carry on a conversation with Bob across any device, on any platform, at any time, forever. This is not some expiring cookie, guys. This, you know, if you go market on just Facebook, for example, if he clicks on your offer, you can retarget him for up to 30 days, or if he clears his cache and cookies, right? Then you got to start the process all over again. You don't own and control. You're renting that data from Facebook, unless you earn it. Now, if Bob fills out your form, fine, you can earn that data. But how much of an investment does it take you to get there? How many clicks does it take you to get Bob to fill out your form? And guess what? What happens if Facebook goes down? We'll talk about that here in a minute, actually, under that's actually one of the other forces of competition. But to beat your rivals, you have to have a competitive advantage. And if you own and control your data, if you use in-market behavioral targeting, you can get there first, right? You can start the conversation with Bob before your competitor does. You can set the buying criteria, and you can set the value proposition of how you can solve his problem before your competitor does. And if you're first, if you can set the buying criteria, then you can be the person, be the company that all other companies get compared to. Think about that for a minute. Think about the power of that. And plus, if you own and control, then you can market the Bob across any platform, any device, online or offline, throughout his entire buying cycle. You don't have to just be a Facebook marketer. You don't have to just be a pay-per-click marketer. When you own and control, that gives you a competitive advantage. Think about knocking on doors. Would you rather knock on 100 doors to try to find Bob, or would you rather knock on 1? This is what your rivals do, demographic targeting. They're marketing to all the colors, trying to find the reds. They're blasting out flyers, knocking on every door. They are sending Facebook ads or leveraging Google pay-per-click or display ads. They don't know who Bob is yet. But if you know who Bob is ahead of time, you can with pinpoint accuracy, return on capital investment, you can smartly and wisely market to just the people who are already exhibiting buying behavior. That is a very powerful competitive advantage. That is an only factor that your competitors would not have. They're busy marketing to the stadium. You're not marketing to the stadium. You're marketing to Tom, Jim, Bob, Sally, and Mary. You know exactly who to market to ahead of time. Own and control. You're not marketing to the haystack. You're marketing to the needles. That's how you beat your rivals. You give yourself a competitive advantage, Give yourself an only factor, give yourself something that they don't possess. And in-market targeting is that powerful thing that you can get that they wouldn't have. Now let's talk about powerful suppliers. Google and Facebook are powerful suppliers because when you market to them, you're paying a premium for targeting. That's their profit engine. That's their profit model. When you go to them and say, hey, market to all the people in a certain zip code, or market to all the people that have this sort of like profile, or like this magazine. That's behavioral targeting at a premium because it's not buying behavior. That, again, that's paying retail for something, retail plus. You don't get to negotiate with Google and Facebook. You don't, unless you do it the way I'm going to show you here in a second. And they have all the power, right? Google and Facebook don't exist for your profit. Okay, let's be very clear here. They exist for their profit. They can kick you off their platform anytime they want. They set the buying criteria. They have all the control, and they can eliminate your account whenever they want, for any reason they want. And you don't have a whole lot of recourse. There's not a lot you can do if they say, oh, no, we don't like your ad, we don't like the wording, we don't like the picture. A lot of times, it's happened to us. I mean, it's kind of par for the course. If you start running ads on these platforms, at some point, one of your ads is going to get declined, or they're going to blacklist your account, and then you got to go get a new account, or have somebody else on the team create an account. I haven't run into too many people that have not been blocked, or at some point, either whether it's a temporary ban or some type of Facebook jail or Google jail, or and they've made mistakes on that. I've seen people lose a lot of money off of things that were just very basic misunderstandings. And because these companies are so big, they rely on automated systems to grade your ads. They don't have a human being that's like looking at the ad. It's a system, it's an algorithm, it's a program, it's a robot that's looking at your ad and making a judgment call on whether that ad is relevant to their relevance engine. Because that's how these machines run. It's a relevance engine. They care about relevance to the audience you're running ads to, because if you're relevant, if you help increase the customer experience for the people that are using it, that keeps you on their platform. You're essentially paying Google to help keep people on their platform so they can charge those people for more ads. Think about that for a second. Again, they're not in the business of making you profit. They'll give you the luxury of using their platform, and they'll charge you a premium for it. They'll happily take your money and run traffic for you, but they are not in business to make you money. They are in business to make themselves money. And the whole thing runs on a CPM model. If you don't know what that means, a CPM, to really confuse us, they decided that CPM means cost per 1,000 views or impressions. So how many times, how many impressions does it take to get one person to click on your ad? Now you're talking pay per click, right? But the basis of that engine, the basis of that model is all CPM, cost per 1,000. So think about this for a second. If you're marketing to all the colors, right? That's essentially what Google's going to do, or Facebook, or whoever. If you go run display ads or any type of online advertising, they're going to show your ad. Let's just say it's 1,000 people, but in those 1,000 people are all, blues, purples, yellows, grays, greens, and reds, all across the spectrum of different people. They may or may not be in the market for for solar. They may not be in the market for your program, for your product. Which one do you think is going to be more expensive? But flip that around now. But if you had a list of in-market targeting, if you had a list that you owned and controlled ahead of time, and you brought that list to Google and Facebook and said, hey, only run ads at the red. Only run ads at Bob, Lisa, Jim, and Sally, and Mary. Just those 5 people, just those 6 people. Think of it on the CPM model. Think of it as you know ahead of time that those 1,000 people are already in market. They're looking for solar on their house right now. If you ran ads just to those 1,000 people, do you think your ad would be relevant to those people? Do you think more people would click on it? Do you think your acquisition cost would go up or down? I hope you said down, because that's the only right answer. If you're only serving ads to people that are already in market for your program, you should be able to make a significant reduction in your cost, which of course, as we talked about earlier, profits go up, right? Cost goes down, profits go up. So that's how you beat powerful suppliers. You bring the audience to them. And then if they kick you off, doesn't matter. Take your list and go over to Twitter. Go over to display ads. Go to direct mail. Go to phone calls. Go to knocking on doors. Do them all. So that way when one thing stops, it doesn't matter. You're still running at full speed with everything else. You know, a couple weeks back, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, Facebook went down, right? One of the world's biggest websites, most traffic websites, was down for over 24 hours. Do you think advertisers lost money? Do you think companies that were advertising on Facebook took a hit that day? You're damn right they did. Didn't affect us. You know what we did? We took our list, we took our audience, we took Bob, Jim, Sally, and Mary, and we went over to Twitter. Because guess what happened over on Twitter when Facebook went down? Facebook actually put an announcement on Twitter that they were having technical difficulties. Well, guess what? If you're only leveraging Facebook, if you're only running Facebook ads, that would have a significant impact on your business because you're Facebook centric. You're platform centric. If you're only running ads on Facebook and they go down, bye-bye eyeballs on your thing. Bye-bye traffic, bye-bye phone calls, bye-bye offers, bye-bye sales pitches that day, right? That could have a pretty significant impact on any business that's relying on it. You know what we did? Facebook went down. Okay, we took our list and went over to Twitter. Didn't miss a beat. Our clients didn't miss a beat because they own and control the data. And that is how you beat a powerful supplier. You bring them the targeting. You tell them who to run traffic to. You don't pay them a premium for targeting. You do your own targeting. And you bring them the list of behaviors. And there's some other things you can do off that. There's some behavioral lookalikes that we can talk about in a different video that are very powerful, much more powerful than the lookalike that you can, the standard lookalike that you'd create. And we can talk more about that in other videos. Yeah, as far as crushing the powerful supplier, that's what in-market data can do. Own and control, beat the powerful supplier. Now, powerful buyers. This one is, of course, your customers, right? Customers feel like they have power, right? Powerful buyers can affect your profit because they can force you to either drop your price or demand more value from your fulfillment, right? If the buyer asks for more and you're desperate, you're in a position where you can't afford to lose a deal, then you're going to do whatever it takes to get that deal closed. You're going to allow that buyer to be in control. You're going to give them what they want because you don't have any deals behind it. You don't have a full pipeline. So if you don't have a full pipeline, it puts you at mercy of the powerful buyer. That's going to affect your profits. You know, if you're in that desperate position where you're only closing a few deals a month and you're working off referrals or you're working off, demographic targeting and you're paying a lot for acquisition, every deal matters, right? Well, guess what? How do you beat a powerful buyer? You flip the tables on them is what you do. If you have a full pipeline, if you're using targeting, if you have a list of people that are already in the market, and you market the right way, the way I'm going to show you, you'll have a full pipeline. If Bob comes in and says, hey, I need you to drop the price, you could say no because you've got 50 deals behind it that are in your pipeline. You're booked out. You've got discovery calls. You've got welcome calls. You've got installs booked out. When you have a full pipeline and Bob comes to you for a discount, you don't need to say yes because you're operating with pocket aces. You're playing poker with a stack of chips. You're not in a desperate position to allow that powerful buyer to get you to drop your price or throw in concessions for the deal. So in-market targeting can defeat a powerful buyer because it can fill up your pipeline. Most people are, marketing to the masses. Most people are marketing to the stadium. If you market properly, if you own and control, we keep talking about this own and control theme. You're going to see that a lot. And it actually relates to your business if you're a solar company, because guess what you're telling people? You're pitching your clients to own and control their power, right? It's the exact same thing. So shouldn't you own and control your data? Shouldn't you own and control your audience? You're darn right you should. And that's what in-market targeting does for your company. It allows you to own and control. It's the same thing you're pitching, just from a data perspective. When you're only marketing to the reds, when you're only marketing to the people that are in market, it allows you to systematically and predictably fill up your pipeline. Because guess where all sales come from? All sales come from people who are in market. So why not just market to the 3%? That's who's currently shopping for solar in your territory right now. There's 3% of people that are currently in market for solar. Only market to those people. That's your fastest, most efficient path to profit. It's your most valuable use of your limited resources for profit. Only market to people who are in market. That's how you beat powerful buyers. Now, threat of entry, I'm not going to talk too much about this one. It's very similar to rivals, because when you have an industry that's growing, especially like solar, there's always that threat of newcomers coming in, right? More and more companies sprout up every day. Those companies are a threat to take your profits because they're probably related to somebody that's in your pipeline, right? We've all heard oh, my cousin does this, so I'm going to go work with him, right? Everyone's lost a deal to the old family member, and that it's a threat. I mean, if you have a full pipeline, this is not going to affect you. The same rules apply for rivals as threat of entry. If you're targeting the right people, if you're growing your pipeline, then this is not something that you would necessarily worry about. Same rules apply. Own and control. When you have ownership and control of your data, when you have ownership and control of your audience, the threat of new entrants really sort of dissipates, because you would essentially have a full pipeline. You would already be entrenched as you'd be controlling the conversation for every single person that comes in market, and it's not going to affect you one bit if you lose, one or two deals to the new guy that comes in and steals, one or two deals from you because he's a family member of somebody that's already in your pipeline. So it's going to have a limited impact on you if you have a full pipeline. And same thing for alternatives and substitutes. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this one. This isn't a super critical worry. This isn't something that you really have to lose sleep over, because quite frankly, as a solar company, you're the alternative against the power company, right? That's why the Koch brothers are launching a full frontal attack against solar and against alternative energy, against renewable energy, because they are big time gas and oil conglomerates. So now, as things progress, as renewable energy grows, you very well could see wind, you very well could see hydropower start to come in. I think we're a long way off. As far as the current options, it's either stay with the power company that they're currently with, or put panels, right? So really, your alternative in your situation is the power company, which that's not necessarily a threat to your. I mean, it is, because there's still a lot of people that are staying on that power, but most people are not happy with having only one choice for power. People want choices. People don't want that $500 power bill. So it's, this is all stuff that you probably say in every single pitch, and I would say that most of the customers that you deal with understand, and that's not really a threat, because how many people say, oh yeah, I'm just going to stick with the power company? Very rarely do you hear that, right? So it is something to consider and plan for as more options come into the marketplace. But as of the making of this video, there's no wind power farms that are being built in my neighborhood. That's not really an alternative as of yet, but definitely watch out for that as the technology grows, and as the marketplace shifts into more renewable energy. That very well could be something that we need to develop a strategy for. Bottom line, guys, you're starting to see a common theme here with these 5 forces of competition. The way you beat them is you develop a winning strategy against them. And I'm telling you, this helped me tremendously just knowing what they were. Because when you can get crystal clear about who you are fighting against, then that's a game changer. That can change everything about the way you wake up and the attention that you place on certain areas in your business. Now understand that any sort of targeting, any sort of list buying, any sort of data, yes, it is extremely powerful, and it is an only factor. It is a competitive advantage. But that does not mean that you would sacrifice business principles in that scenario. You still have to clearly define your value proposition. You still have to clearly communicate your value position. And you still have to position that value proposition in the marketplace properly so that when your prospects are ready to buy, you can become the obvious choice. It's not just about being at the right place at the right time with your ads. You know, and quite frankly, just to touch on this really quickly, we're not suggesting any one ad platform. You know, we are platform agnostic, as I think we touched on that earlier. This isn't about marketing with ads. This is about people-based marketing. And if you do that the right way, you still have to have a strong value proposition. You still have to have the right content throughout the buying journey. You know, I see a lot of solar companies with commission breath, and they just do the old, hey, click here to get a free quote. Well, guess what? Even if you had in-market data and you were just running out there with commission breath, that's just saying, hey, buy my thing. You know, you have to remember why people buy stuff. You know, solar is a complex purchase. That's not an overnight impulse buy, right? That's not the pack of gum at the checkout line. That's not an impulse buy. People want to make an informed buying decision. So what are they going to do? They're going to go online and they're going to consume content. They're going to try to make the most educated buying decision for their family and for themselves and for their future. Right? Nobody wakes up and says, oh yeah, I can't wait to get screwed today financially, right? They want to clearly understand, number one, what is the problem that they have, and then number two, how to solve it. Because people only buy stuff for two reasons. They either have a problem that they can't solve on their own, or they have a result that they want that they can't get. So think about that. How does your value proposition play into that? How does your value proposition solve a problem for your customer? Have you written that down? Is that in your materials? Is it on your website? Is it clearly communicated? Does your value proposition line up with what your buyer's desires are and what they're hoping to accomplish? And this really has nothing to do with the 5 forces per se. It's just important to know that just having the competitive advantage alone with the data, that doesn't change the foundational principles of business, that you need to have your own differentiator within your value proposition. You need to clearly communicate how your value proposition lines up for your customers. So don't ignore this. This is very important. Don't just think that the data is going to be some magic bean that's going to make deals fly into your pipeline on their own, on autopilot. That is not the case. You still have to work hard. You still have to show up. You still have to build a relationship with your customers. Now, obviously, the in-market data can make that easier because you know exactly who to go after and who to start a conversation with. But just understand, it's not some magic formula that's going to make all your problems go away. Basic principles still exist. Well, thanks for checking out the video, guys. I'm going to end it here. Make it a great day.